All right, so we are recording and I'm so excited to welcome Nasreen and Elnora, who are both garden, Elnora is the garden coordinator at Nightingale, Nasreen is a gardener at Symphony, and they're both longtime gardeners and, members of the Boston Community Garden community. And they are excited to share their veteran gardeners of some crops that are significant to them, and they're going to talk a little bit about growing them and maybe cooking with them. And then we're hoping this can be a slightly more informal space where people can ask questions, unmuting themselves, and also maybe share some stories that come up for you after hearing from our presenters. So do you guys want to quickly introduce yourselves, and then Nasreen, you can start us off.
Yeah, thank you.
My name is Eleanor Thompson, and I'm a gardener at Nightingale Community Garden and also my backyard.
My name is Nasreen Latif. I'm from Bangladesh. I'm gardening from 30 plus years. I'm gardener for Symphony Road Community Garden, and I also establish a garden in Roxbury Community College. And I'm a garden activist for 35 years.
So Nasreen, feel free to go ahead, and if you want to share your screen, I will make you a co-host so you can do that. Oh, and I'll just add that if while both presenters are speaking, if you have questions, feel free to add them to the chat, and I can relay them to our presenters until the end when we'll have a more open Q&A.
First, I will give you the little bit tour of our Symphony Road Community Garden. You can see Symphony Road Community Garden behind me, and my plot is in my left-hand side. And this is the entrance, and we have 42 high-raised, 2 high-raised bed and 42 regular bed. And we are growing actually from 1978 plus years, from 1978. And I've been in this garden for early to mid 90s. So I think I'm the only one from my group is still gardening at Symphony Road Community Garden. And we are looking forward for our new season with lots of new stuff will happen in our garden, because now COVID is almost gone, so we can do better than last year. So little bit background of my presentation. So I'm here in this country from 1986, and leaving my things behind is always creating some issues and some tension about the food and vegetables, what we used to grow and eat back home, how we can get here, and how we can promote them, how we can make them accessible to our gardens, and also have a fresh food and vegetables for ourselves. On that ground, I started my mission during early 2000, and I have done this type of presentation and working with trustees before it was known as Boston Nature Area Networks. And I started my journey since then. Today, I'm going to present, I will share my screen now. I cannot see this. So this is my first slide. You can see a little bit of my background. Then I will introduce my crops to you, the crops I'm going to talk about. What is the next? So now you can see my produce. I have produced this, I decorate them, I have a little bit fun with them. So these are called bottle gourd. Some of them have some kind of patch mark, but not all of them. So before we also talk about the warm-up activities, that is write down your name and 2 plants you grow and why it is important to you. You can write it down in your chat box. So the planting location. I'm not only planting my produce in Symphony Red Community Garden, and this is our Symphony Red Community Garden. You can see it now. I have established a garden at Roxbury Community College 10 years ago just to produce more vegetables, more of our produce, more important produce that are missing in this culture. And I like not only producing them, I want to share them. I also like to cook them and give my neighbor and my community the taste of the produce. So I want to be their voice and try to bring them here, establish them here. And our people in our back home, they are getting all the US produce, all the things we grow here, and they are also growing their produce. So why we are not doing the same thing, bringing them here and also market them, produce them, and get more exposure for those crops. The crops we love to eat, love to have them all the time. There is another garden I'm now working on. That's my family garden in Attleboro. They have a backyard garden, so I am growing something over there too. So you can see everywhere, wherever I go, I try to grow my produce. The crops I used to grow back home when I was a kid. So today I will mainly focus on the history and the sowing condition, healing characteristic, and health benefit of the produce. I was talking about bottle gourd. Sometimes in our country, we call lao and daikon. They have different name, but we call mula in India, they call muli, mule. So they have a little bit twist of the same name. It varies from countries to countries, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, then it goes to Japan and Korea. Mainly, you will find them, the shape, the color is same, but the size and shape is different when it goes from different countries because of the zoning and the condition of the environment. Then I will talk about the cooking, how to use them, how to cook them, and all those tips. Mainly all this information are coming from my 35 plus years experience. So I'm not only growing in this country, I'm a grower from Bangladesh. So I started growing this type of crops when I was really, really young, very young age. And it was inspired by my dad. He was a big time scientist, but he has passion for growing uh, fruit and vegetables and flowers. So I got that. So I have to shout out by my father. And every time I present something, I remember him, and he must be very happy and proud of me. Then my picture sources are my produce, and I will also share with you about the sources I use for seed. And I'm looking forward for another presentation tomorrow at 1 by Annabelle Rabaya. She will talk about seed saving 101. So that's my next target, next goal, to be expert on that. I'm not there yet. Then I will give you some time for Q&A and also your experience with some other produce, the thing you want to share with us. It is a little bit interactive session. The history of gourd. The bottle gourd, sometimes called white flower gourd. The flower is very small and cute. Sometimes they call calabash gourd. They are running or they need some vine. They are climbing vines, so definitely you have to have a fence or trellis or other thing. Annabelle is good at giving how to make trellis with small branches or some way to hang the produce. If you go to Berkeley Community Garden, you will see lots of them. They put so many branches or so many ways they get the trellis, so they can support the gourd because sometimes it is big, long, and heavy. It's originated in Africa, but nowadays all other countries with warm climates, they are growing it. So it is more popular now than before because of its benefits and also the taste of the produce. The sowing condition is a little bit difficult here because especially in Boston, we have only 5 or 6 months to grow the whole thing. The process of growing, if you start late in the season, so you have to wrap up in end of October, so you won't get the whole thing. I have grown some kind of gourd here. I only got the flower because the period is so small for the Boston zone, say 5 and 6 zone, so I didn't get the fruit. So what the use of growing then? But for gourd, you need 80-degree, that's the ideal temperature. Then how many months you'll get 80 degrees? It will go up, it will go down in October. And if the temperature is not right, then germination rate is very, very slim. What are the health benefits? It's good for our liver, it's good for diabetes, it's good for our digestive system, and also the calorie is less. You can eat as much as you want. So those are the minimum benefit as I know and proved, but there are so many other benefits is written in online sources. Some of them are right or wrong, I'm not sure, but based on the benefit you can see here, it's pretty good to produce something and try. Let's try it and see it whether you like the vegetables, the crop or not. It's up to you. The history of sowing and growing daikon. So daikon is originated in Japan, and it settled down for 1300 years ago in Japan. And they used to grow 100 varieties of daikon. Nowadays, 1 or 2 varieties survive, other varieties are almost gone. And the soil condition is pretty, you need the loose soil and moist soil to plant the seed. And when seeds are coming up, you can keep it. You have to separate them, you have to thin them, otherwise it will be difficult to grow and get the good size daikon. It's good for respiratory system, for digestion, immune system, weight loss, and anti-inflammatory effect of this vegetable is also good. Most of the time we think about daikon and the pickle, but other than pickles, you can do many other things with daikon. So by growing this type of produce, not only we are feeding ourselves, we are also getting indirect benefit. So it has direct benefit and indirect benefit for all of us. And when we are growing this produce, we are starting from seed, then we harvest the produce, then we cook it. It's cooking, growing, cooking, tending, and harvesting, everything is done by one person, or maybe more, but it will help our food supply chain. You reduce, you know your farmer, you know your cook, you know your harvester. There's only one or two people are involved. So everything you are doing by yourself, you can see also plant life cycle in front of your eyes. This is very, very educational and also helpful for your health and physical health and mental health. And it is a great deal of satisfaction you will derive from your growing and serving those crops to your friends and family at the end for the community. That satisfaction is priceless. This gourd has it's a history. I grow this Sicilian gourd as a purpose of saving this is it was in my mind for seeds. Then I said, oh, why not? I can use this as an instrument too. And this is 2001 season, I produced this gourd, and this gourd is still with me. So you can change, you can spray and smooth the color, but I like to keep it as it is. So this is a very long gourd, mainly this type of gourd used in Italian cooking. And this is their favorite varieties of gourd. The seed sowing method we use for this, 7 to 12 days is germination rate. And it takes 2-3 months to grow. When you grow this, you can eat their leaves, you can eat their stems, you can eat the whole thing. So it is really, really, there will be no waste. For daikon, you can grow in 2 seasons, early season in the spring, early spring, you can grow it in autumn. So you have enough time to play with this, and it doesn't take that much time, 4 to 6 days, you can see the seedlings. So types of gourd and daikon. Now you can see this is my collection. So I don't collect the seed that much. I just try to get the seed packet from catalog. There are 2 catalogs here. So this is my international catalog, Kids and also Seed Saver. So this is the gourd, is really from back home. And this is also another substitute of that, bottle gourd, calabash gourd, then sponge gourd. There are different type of gourds I have in my collection. I try to grow them and try to see how much time they take to get to the fruit and the maturity. Then I have few varieties of daikon. So they are available, but not all the time you will find them. Daikon you can find once in a while, but gourd you have to go to the specialty store. You have to go to the Chinese market. Sometimes they have, but not always. In Bangladeshi store, we have one in Masab, name is Foodland. You can, once in a while, you can get them, but germination rate is questionable because we don't know how long those seeds are in the packet and from where the seeds are coming. Nowadays, I saw online and also in this pandemic, I have enough time to do some research. I have seen in New York, people are growing it with a large scale. And also there is a Bangladeshi farm, they only grow Bangladeshi vegetables in upstate New York. I'm trying to connect with them to let know where they are getting their seeds, or they are selling their seeds or some way to make those seeds available in Boston. So that will be my next project. And the Korean market, nowadays I see some of the seeds, especially daikon, because their daikons are a little bit different. They are a little bit round and small in the size. But the Japanese daikons, they are long and really big. So Korean market, you will find H Mart in Central Square. So if you live in Boston, so you have access to those places. So right now, I am interested to share with my cooking experience. So I will take question at the end, and I will give you a little bit tour of those two vegetables, how we use them. For gourd, you can have juice. I saw in Amazon, they are selling gourd juice. If you have an issue with weight and if you have issue with digestion, you can have gourd juice. How they are making, how they are processing, they are a little bit unknown to me at this point, but I have seen they are selling this in a bottle. And I didn't try it yet, so I'm not recommending you to buy it or taste it because I don't have the taste yet. Then you can eat the stem, you can eat the leaves, so you don't have to wait for the maturity of the plant to get the gourd. You can eat stem, you can eat the leaf, you can saute the leaves, you can eat your stem in different way, you can cook them. Then when you get the gourd, you will see not only the inside of the gourd, you can eat the skin too. So there is no waste. So here in the picture, you can see all my spices. You don't need all the spices to cook it because when I cook, I have a 3 version of all my cooking. One is mild, very mild. The people who don't like to eat spicy food. Then I have medium and have a hot food. I put more spices. I start with 2 or 3 spices, then I add more spices. I can go until 14 spices to cook one item. So if you cook like the one I have mentioned here, like bhaji or curry, that's you don't need that many spices. But if you like to cook with chicken or beef, then you need more spices. So you have cumin, you'll have, I'm allowed to get back to the other.
Backwards? Just press the left arrow, you got it.
Okay. So we have coriander, we have turmeric, we have green chili, because if you want to make it red, then you put the paprika, otherwise green chili, tomato, and this is the cooking version. So you have a cooking oil, gourd, cumin, tomato, the amount is listed here. So a little bit, it depends on the taste of your taste. You can increase or decrease it. So I will go over the little, what I do, then you can read the step by step. First, we cut it, we wash it, keep it in separate bowl. Then you chop the onion, you fry the onion little bit. For any kind of curry we do it. So not only I'm giving you a recipe for one curry, but you can substitute. You can substitute gourd, you can substitute daikon, any vegetables if you like to make a curry. So that's the same recipe, you change the produce. You change your main subject. Then we use bay leaves. If you have it, you use it. If you don't have, you can ignore that. So the four things you have to have if you are thinking about cooking Bangladeshi, Indian, Pakistani food or authentic curry. So minimum, you have to have a turmeric, you have to have a paprika or green chili, you have to have cumin, and you have to have coriander. They are all available in local market. Nowadays, everywhere you will find them. If you have a small bottle of them, you can think about cooking curry. Then you put those and fry a little bit on the oil. Later, you put little bit water to get rid of the raw smell of the spices. So all the spices have other benefits, health benefit. Maybe it will take another session next year or sometime we can talk about the spices and their health benefit and why we use them. So when you have all those sauteed, then you put your daikon. And if you want to add shrimp or anything, any other fish, you can add that time. So when everything is mixed, you keep it, you cook for a few minutes, 5 to 8 minutes, you cover it. Then after covering, when you see they are cooked and they're soft, 1 minute. So that time you can taste for the salt to taste whether everything is the right amount. Then you take the cover off and make the excess water to evaporate. At the end, you can serve them with rice or naan or paratha, whatever is available to you. So I will take question at the end. So just bear with me. So this is the picture I cooked to dedicate this for this presentation. I cooked this 2 or 3 days ago for the family to show you inside of the daikon. The top part is the skin of the daikon. And instead of throwing the skin, I will chop it very finely. Then I will saute them and use them as another dish. So I use the turmeric, then I used shrimp. You can see shrimp, and this is my final product. Then I garnished them with cilantro. So now time for question, comment, and your experience. And you have my contact information. If you're interested to get the slide or you want to talk with me about the plans and other things in details, you can communicate with me in this email.
Thank you so much, Nasreen. That was so great. And now I really want to be making a curry with all of these delicious vegetables. Definitely those gourds you see growing, and it can be, for those of us who are not familiar with them, it's good to like get some idea of how they're cooked. And so, yeah, if anyone does have any questions for Nasreen, but we will have some time at the end as well to have a wider conversation. Because we do have another part of the presentation. Well, yeah, and definitely it's exciting to hear about this, you know, and I've definitely found that the fact that the internet is much more populated with information during the pandemic, and this idea that you might be able to get some seeds from New York, I would be very excited in seeing what you can collaborate on. So thank you, Nasreen. Elnora, I want to turn it over to you. And yeah, I'm gonna probably be asking some questions as you're doing your demonstration. I did mute you, Elnora, so if you want to unmute yourself, you're gonna have to come back around. I'm sorry. So Elnora is going to be sharing her famous process for growing sweet potatoes, which I know a lot of people are interested in learning how to do. I've been lucky enough to receive some of her sweet potato slips in past years. You're still muted.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Elnora, and I grew up in Greenwood, Mississippi. And my family, my mom and I grew up in a family of 12. We grew just about everything we ate. And sweet potatoes is one of my favorite crops to grow. They're very easy. You don't need any special soil. If you know anything about the South, the soil is very, very compacted and it's hard red clay. The sweet potatoes grow very, very well there. When I start my sweet potatoes, I take from the crop of the year before and I use these little tiny ones like this. I save them. And that's how I start my sweet potatoes. And as you can see, they started to grow right on the top. And that's where the leaves started to come from. And this is what they look like when they're a few weeks old. And you just snap the tall ones off like this. And it has these little roots on them. And you stick them in the soil. And you water them. And your potato is ready for the ground when it's warm enough. And the soil you grow sweet potatoes in, it doesn't have to be very rich soil. What I do is I only put a little bit of cow manure down and I fluff the soil really, really good. And I plant my sweet potatoes. I water them really good, but you don't put a lot, sweet potatoes don't require a lot of water. I would only water them like once every other week. If it's really, really hot, I would water them once a week to save on root rot for sweet potatoes. And I collect them out of the soil in late October. And you have to, the cure sweet potatoes, you have to lay them out and they have to be in a great humidity of 70 to 75 degrees for at least a month before you can eat them, because that way they have to cure. Any other questions?
Well, I'm seeing that some people.
These are the purple Japanese sweet potatoes.
Hold on one second, Elnora. Are people not seeing her screen pinned? Because I said I spotlighted her screen.
Okay.
No, you're fine, Elnora. I'm just making sure that make sure that you're in speaker view. Annette, did you want to say something?
Oh, I thought she asked if there were any questions.
Oh, go
Or
ahead.
are we?
I'm just making
Yeah.
sure people can see her video. If she's not pinned, you can go to the top right corner of her video and there's a triple dots and you can say pin. Go ahead, Annette, ask your question.
I was just wondering for around this area, I'm thinking if it's October, where would you have to bring it into a space and heat it for 75 degrees? Because this area wouldn't be that warm.
Yeah, you have to do it in your house. Sometimes I can do it. I put them on like a cardboard box or a tray with newspaper under them. I put them under my bed. Any place in your house that after you dig them out of the ground that's warm. If you got like a warm space in a hallway or any place in your house, you could do it like that. And sometimes you could, if you got a warm garage, you can put them in there.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question just about, I think when I've tried to start sweet potatoes, I really struggle with the first step when you have like this baby little tuber. Like how do you actually, so it's how do you store it, and then how do you actually activate it to think it's time to start growing?
When you start the sweet potato tubers, you mean like this, the little ones like that? What
Yeah.
I is I get some plant starter, and I just take this little tuber and I stick it in the dirt and I water it. And I keep it, you have to keep it moist, you know, just keep it moist for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then it starts to grow like that.
Plant starter, just potting soil, or?
I just get seed starter.
Great. So you just stick it in dirt, essentially.
In dirt, yeah. See how this one's growing in dirt? And
Right.
that's just the little tiny tubers that you have.
Wow. And they're not fully submerged. They're kind of sticking out.
No, they're just sort of sitting on the top of the dirt, not fully submerged. Yes.
There's a question, and then Annette, I see your hand is back up. We'll get to you right afterwards. When do you start the slips?
Well, I usually start them in January, because it's going to take about 4 weeks for them to fully start to grow. I didn't start them early this year. I had started them early this year. These potatoes are very lucky to survive. I started them, but I was ill for a few weeks and I forgot to water them, but they still survive. So they're very hardy things.
There's a question. I'm so glad that some of them survived. Though I imagine they'll do extra well this season. But there's a question of, do you think it would be too late? Would you still be able to get a harvest if you started slips right now?
No. Just go to like Whole Foods or someplace and get a good organic sweet potato, and you can start it now. What I would do is when I got it back home, I would put it in, just make sure it's in a nice warm place, someplace warm, and it's got light, got a lot of light. That's all you need.
There's a question, is it possible to start from pieces of large sweet potatoes from the grocery? Definitely, it sounds like yes, from the grocery. I'm wondering, I guess the question is, can you cut them up?
I wouldn't start from pieces because it's easy to rot because the sweet potato has been cut. You know, if you was doing like white potatoes or something like that, it would be fine. But with sweet potatoes, you really have to start with a whole potato.
And do you think, have you ever tried this with Japanese yams, or it sounds like purple sweet potatoes? I mean, I know you've grown purple sweet potatoes. So.
Yeah.
But what about yams?
Tried it with just about every sweet potato you can think of. Whatever I find at Whole Foods or any place like that, I use it.
This is mine.
Yes, I tried it with the yellow.
I start with water.
Huh?
I start with water.
You can start it with water. What I do is I take this little, you see how this one is brown?
Mm-hmm.
I take it off,
Mm-hmm.
and I take off the bottom leaves,
Mm-hmm.
and I just stick it in the water. And then about a week later, so you see the root, it gets the root on it. And that's what you put in.
So what will happen to the original one? You will put it in the soil too?
I just stick the whole thing in the ground.
Okay.
When I get all of my slips off.
I have the problem with that. I will flat it or I will put it like this. How you'll put it in the soil? Either flat or straight?
Oh, you mean if you're growing them in the garden?
Mm-hmm.
I just put them right in the ground in the garden. I just dig up the soil and put them in the ground. If you're growing them in a bucket, I would get a giant, like a 10-gallon grow pot or something.
Uh-huh.
And I would only put about 4 slips in that pot.
Their flowers are really nice.
Thank you. And they get these beautiful purple flowers.
Yeah, they're so beautiful.
Yeah, they're so easy to grow. I wish everybody grow them. This one here, you see how many's on there? We're gonna get a lot of sweet potatoes on there. There's at least 10 more on there that's gonna give me 10 more sweet potatoes.
Wow. I will use your method now because I was doing without any knowledge, just trying something.
Oh yeah, they're really easy to grow. One of the easiest crops to grow. And last year I was able to receive some purple ice cream from Annabelle. I grew these and gave her slips last year. And these are the orange sweet potatoes. In about 3 weeks, I'm gonna have tons of slips on this one little tiny potato.
We can swap to each other's produce.
Oh, good.
That will be our new project.
Swap sweet potatoes, sure. And I'm sure I have extra ones.
But it is a really good idea. Like, you know, Nasreen, you were starting it with this big potato, and I've had that same problem of like, what do you do with the whole tuber?
I just plant them in the soil.
Would you, Elnora, do you think with that big potato that she had, would you cut off like the bottom part? But no, they have the roots on the bottom. Is there roots on the bottom of the potato, right?
Yeah, the sweet potato, see this big one here, I put that one in, it roots from the bottom here.
Mm-hmm.
It roots from the bottom and the sprouts come out the sides like that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but I would put, if I did put a sweet potato in the ground, I would put it in like this, the whole sweet potato, just like that. And
So
just cover it up and let it grow under the ground. But I wouldn't put it out there until the ground was warm enough.
Definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It can stay indoor as long as they want.
Oh, they can stay indoors for a long, long time. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When would you
never
bring
know
them
when the
out?
weather's going to change in Massachusetts.
When would you typically bring them out?
This is March. I don't put them out until like May, in the middle of May, when I know it's not going to be a frost or we're not going to get any more cold weather. I watch, when I'm growing sweet potatoes, I watch the weather every day. You know, and if you think it's gonna be cold, if the weatherman says it's gonna be cold, grab the black plastic or whatever kind of plastic you got and go out and cover them.
Someone, Amy's asking if you like to have are they a good companion plant to anything? I guess that's a good question for all of the crops you guys have talked about.
Well, I grow them next to onions. Yeah, I do. I grow my onions alongside of my sweet potatoes, or either garlic, and that keeps it seemed to keep the mice and all kind of little pests away from them. And we have a lot of squirrels. We have tons of squirrels in Nightingale, and planting garlic or onions near them sort of keeps the squirrels away.
We have a rabbit problem in our garden. The rabbits are all hanging out, producing babies and having fun with our produce.
Oh yeah. You must
and
got
eating all the green vegetables that we are growing for them.
You must got all the rabbits from Beth Israel Hospital.
Or the nearby construction.
Yes. But if anybody, I will have sweet potato plants sets. I know I have a few left over. If anybody wants them, just Annabelle will put my contact number up and you can, and I'll let you know if I have extra ones and you can get some. But
thank you very much.
2 to 3 sweet potato plants will grow a lot.
And there's nothing
you don't need a lot.
Sorry, go ahead. You said you put a little manure in with the soil.
You just put a little manure in with the soil. They don't need a whole lot of rich fertilizer. So I just get a bag of that black cow manure and I just mix it into the bed that I'm going to plant them in. And I don't do anything else other than that. Because they don't need a whole lot of water and they don't need a whole lot of fertilizer.
Eleanor, do you use city compost in your
Yes,
garden?
city compost. Mhm.
And I have one last question, because I know Nasreen talked about a recipe or two that she likes to make with the gourd and the daikon. What's your favorite way to cook with sweet potatoes? And do
My
you
favorite thing with sweet potatoes is sweet potato pie. Yeah, that's my favorite thing with sweet potato pie. My grandchildren like candied sweet potatoes, but I like sweet potato pie.
How about
And
roasting sweet potatoes? Roasted sweet potato?
yes, I like baked sweet potatoes, roasted sweet potatoes, putting them in the oven just with a little cinnamon.
Yeah, do nothing.
They're great, just that. They're really great. Yeah. Yeah.
And have you made purple sweet potato pie?
Yes, I have. I made purple sweet potato pie. Yeah, my grandchildren thought I was weird, but they ate it. Yeah, the first year I made purple sweet potato pies, one of the guys, Edgel, in my garden, he grew some of the purple sweet potatoes. And he's given me 2 or 3, and they had got kind of big, and I made a pie out of them. They was really, really good.
Good job.
Yeah. And I also, and these are the orange sweet potatoes here.
It's a great trick to use those babies from the previous season, because I had no idea what to do with those babies.
Yes.
But do you have any recommendations for storing them?
Yes, what I do, the way I store them is I have a cool, my house is built in the 18th century, and I use a potato bag, and I hang them up on the wall in my back hallway. And I store them away from the light. But if you got a nice basement, a nice cool basement, that's great for storing them down there. And you put them in a box just so they don't touch each other. And they will stay down there for the rest of the year.
How many pounds you get in every season?
It's different every season because it depends on the weather.
They like hot, warm weather?
They like hot weather. You grow, you get enormous amount when it's really hot. You know, they like hot weather. They like hot weather. They even like moist weather. My mom and my dad both is from New Orleans, and in New Orleans, it's really moist and hot and humid.
Yeah.
And they grow really, really well there. And I grew up in Mississippi, and the sweet potatoes grew, it was like 100, 110 degrees in the summer, you know, during August and September, like that, and they grew great. But we didn't get those huge sweet potatoes like we get here. We only got the long, skinny ones, the small ones. But I grew the purple ones in a bag last year. And they were great out in my backyard. They did great. Because of COVID, I didn't garden in Nightingale last year. I did it in my backyard, but I still got a lot of sweet potatoes.
Wow, excellent.
And you can eat the vines. Don't forget those vines.
Yes.
Great. You can saute them, stir fry them with little garlic and onions, and they're great. You can put them in a salad and eat them raw. So everything on the sweet potato is edible.
So we are all in the right track.
Oh, yes, we are. Health food.
Yes.
And they're great in vitamin C, you know, they're really, really great. And they also make great baby food. If anybody have babies, they make great baby food. Just bake it, process it. With some carrots, they make great baby food.
Mashed sweet potato is good for the babies.
Yes. Mashed sweet potatoes with some carrots, they are great for babies.
And also fried sweet potato is good for young people.
Yeah, not for old people, but young people. Sweet potato fries are good.
Fried sweet potato is a new trend now.
Yeah, you can do it. You know, I grew up with fried sweet potatoes. So my parents, we had sweet potato fries when I was a kid. You know, like a lot of people, they had French fries. We had fried sweet potatoes.
I was thinking this is a new thing.
Oh, no. I grew up with that when I was a kid. A lot of the things that people are thinking that all is new, you know, like tomato sandwiches and all of this stuff. We waited for, our thing was 2 slices of white bread, mayonnaise, and sliced tomatoes. That was the beginning of the garden season. And you know, and you know, like fried sweet potatoes and all of that stuff. People, and okra and all of that. I grew up with all of those different types of food. You know, a lot of the things that the kids are seeing now that's new, that's all old stuff.
They are too old. So that because of that, they don't know.
Yeah. And you know, gardening was a part of my life since I was a kid. I can't remember ever not gardening. And when I moved to Boston, I moved to the South End. And the first thing I grew that year was my mother sent me some collard green seeds. And I took a flower pot, put it on the fire escape, and grew collard greens. And then I said to my husband, we have got to find a place with a yard because we had 3 kids. So we found an old house in Dorchester that had a double lot, but a small house, a 3-family house. And so we moved there and I started gardening in the 1980s. I went down to Nightingale and I've been there ever since. So I've been gardening all my life.
Thank you.
It's so great. I don't know if you guys have ever met or not, but it's like so nice to see you guys both together. These 2 like veteran gardeners that have contributed so much to our community.
Yeah.
There still are a couple more questions, and then I wanted to open it up also for questions for Nasreen's growing process. I know I had a couple of questions, especially about the gourds and trellising. And then Mike is really wants to ask you, Elnora, about these berries that I guess you're growing in Nightingale in the corner. But I'm just noting that, and I want to make sure we get to that. But before we do, let me just share these questions that people have been. So when you store those little sweet potatoes, Elnora, they were saying, do you store in a standard grocery bag? I think it was one of those mesh potato bags you were
Let me show you the bag I was talking about.
And then another question about that is how many can you store together?
I just use this bag you get from the grocery store, like the onion bag, the orange onion bag, something like this, a potato bag. And that's what I store the little babies in. And like, is there a limit to how many you would store together, or? No, I just pick up 5 or 6 and just put them in here. Great. You don't need that many. You know, if you're growing 3 or 4 different kinds, I would take 2 of each kind. Do you think a potato box would work well too, or? What? Yeah, I'm cheap, so I use what I have. It works. So I mean, I think good to know. And then let me see. I will make sure at the end if people want to unmute themselves. But Nasreen, I was wondering, you know, my sense is that those bottle gourds tend to be trellised. Do you have a favorite trellising method for your gourds?
I don't have that much experience on making the good trellis, but I do something simple with the heavy duty stick. And sometimes I allow them to run down. So I don't use that. I'll use my fence. So Symphony Road Community Garden, I produced that few times, but not using that heavy duty trellis for my gourd. So would it be I don't plant a lot because it takes spaces. So I grow 3 or 4 at a time.
And how many does each plant?
3 to 4 plants is enough for my space, the space I have at Symphony Road, because our plots are small, 4 by 10 or 4 by 8, so I cannot grow. I didn't try with my other spaces is for gourd, but I use pumpkin and other squash in my college garden. And I let them run on the ground.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. And then how many gourds do you think for each plant will grow?
Each
typically?
plant, it depends on how good is their soil and other things.
Hmm.
So I think 3 or 4 you will get from
And how do
each
you-
max, for my experience. And I know some people, they get more because they are putting their time and effort to put the strong trellis, and sometimes they put, I saw New York people, they are putting eggshell. Instead of putting any other fertilizer, they put eggshell under those gourd plants, and they are giving a bumper crop for them. They are talking about this. Recently, I saw them.
Interesting.
That's great, the eggshells. Mhm. I use the
Yeah.
eggshells on my tomatoes.
Yeah, they says eggshell is a good source of vitamin for the plants.
Yeah, it is. Mhm.
Interesting.
And now I'm asking my family to save the shell for me. They are laughing at me.
They do laugh at us when we ask for weird stuff from
Yeah,
them.
so we are the crazy ladies.
Yeah, and to let them know that you can, if you grow these sweet potatoes in a sweet potato bag, you can use a tomato cage and trellis your sweet potato vines.
Yeah, and they will give you a nice flower too. So
Yeah,
you
they
have
give
a
nice flower.
multi-purpose use.
So yeah,
How do you know when the gourds are ripe or ready?
You have to put your finger, nail, the way you taste, they are soft or not. So young gourd is really tasty than the hard gourd. Then you have to save them for the seed.
Mm.
oh,
Cool. All right.
Because for us, by touching, you can see whether it is baby, young, or old.
I don't think
I feel that way.
we'll have to wait for the in-person workshop at the end.
oh wow.
All
And
right.
they smooth, definitely in May, I think at the good time, September, October, that time it will
Well, I
go for
really
maturity.
it today because I didn't know you could eat gourds. I thought
There
they
are some
just
ornamental gourds, the gourd we see in the Whole Food and other places near the Halloween time.
Mhm.
So those are for show purpose only.
Yeah,
not the
those are
edible one.
so I didn't know there was a kind that you could grow, you could eat.
Yeah, we eat stem, make curry with the stem. We saute the leaves, so nothing is a waste. You do everything with that. The tea, same gourd, you can give you 2 or 3 items you can cook with the same
That is
one.
so fascinating. Wow. I learned
So
something
give me the chance, I can share with you my cooking someday.
great.
We'll have gourd curry and sweet potato pie.
Bye.
We are all set.
Okay, yeah, I feel free if anyone has any questions to add them. And then Mike, I want to give you the chance. I know you've been really excited to ask Elnora about this berry plant. Do you want to just unmute yourself?
Sure. Elnora,
Hi.
last year you let me taste a berry that you're growing in the corner of at the Nightingale
Oh,
Garden.
the Erroneous Berries.
Yeah. How do you
Yeah, we have
how do you
2
grow
trees
those?
of those.
Yeah, how do you grow those?
Well, when we renovated, Jeremy brought down the city of Boston. They gave us trees,
Mhm.
and we got 2 trees from them.
Okay.
So we just put them in the ground with the rest of the trees that we grow there, and you don't do much of anything to them.
Uh-huh.
What I do once a year is I put berry food on the bottom of them, and
Mhm.
that's it. But you can order them out of most any catalog.
How do you spell it?
Let me see.
I think it's A.
Hey,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Andra.
I just Googled it. Aronia. Aronia. Is that right, Elnora?
Yeah. That's it. Mhm.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Let me know how it comes out.
If I get that far.
Anyone else want to unmute? We have like a couple more minutes. Does anyone?
And
else
if you want some of those berries, come back to Nightingale this fall, because a lot of people, they just don't eat them.
You're on.
Amy says, why do sweet potatoes have to be cured? Can you eat them uncured?
You have to cure them so the sugars form in them, because if you eat them when you first dig them up, they taste like nothing. They have no taste at all. So you have to cure them so the sugars can form in them.
I also have a question for Elnora. And again, about the sweet potatoes and storing them over the winter. So if you've been successful to harvest your potatoes and cure your potatoes, and then you want to just store your crop in the house over the winter so that you can use it over the winter. I'm just confused about the method for either hanging them in a bag or putting them in a box, because what I can foresee is that the potatoes will rot.
You can also freeze them.
Really? Raw
Yeah.
potato?
Yes, you peel them and you put them in boiling water for about 1.5 minutes and make sure they're dry, really good and dry. I put them on a cookie sheet and I freeze them, and then I put them in a bag.
Okay,
And make sure all the air is out of the bag.
okay,
And I also can sweet potatoes. I do a lot of jams and jellies and canning, and I can sweet potatoes in jars.
okay. And if I'm going to hang them for, so to be able to keep them with the skin on and to keep them raw, and I want to hang them in a bag, are you using just a paper bag and hanging like?
No, I use those potato bags, what you get the onions and the potatoes in with the orange bags.
Okay,
Or you can order those bags off online.
okay, but
and make sure it has to be a cool place.
okay, and no humidity, I assume, because I'm assuming the humidity is what would rot them.
Yeah, the humidity is great for curing them, but it's not good for storing them.
Yeah, and if you're hanging them in one of those mesh bags, you can hang like 5 pounds or 2 pounds or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, whatever your situation will handle in your house, and it has to be the coolest part of your house.
Okay, and if you're doing it in the basement, that's when you use the box, and that's when they.
Doing it in the basement, you can either hang them or you can put them in a box.
Okay, but if they're in the box, they can't touch each other. Is that what you're saying?
That's what you do. Yeah.
Okay, and those things will prevent the rot.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Nasreen.
Just make sure you don't have any mice.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Nasreen?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can see me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. What other recipes for gourds besides curry?
You can fry them. You can saute them. You can make sweet out of gourd too.
Oh, okay. You can fry them and saute them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And spices you can eat as much as you want. So if you don't like spices, then you just put a little bit turmeric and salt and pepper. That's all. Salt and black pepper.
Fried?
You're done. It's ready to eat.
Yeah. So you should cut the gourd in small pieces, right?
Yeah, very small pieces, very thin pieces.
Not the stems.
And you can make a sweet dessert with that, with the milk and thin slices of gourd. You boil them, then you fry it with butter and put some sugar and some nuts.
Oh.
Then it will be a sweet dessert
Wow.
too.
Oh, that's good.
So you have
Ooh.
multiple use of that. You can
You
cook
have
with
to buy
chicken and ground beef.
Oh, ground beef too?
You can cook with fish too.
Oh, okay. So we gotta go buy a gourd.
Yeah,
Or
you
grow
have to-
one.
you have to go and
I
buy
don't know.
the fresh young gourd, not the old gourd.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome.
You both did a great job. I
Thank
learned
you.
about sweet potatoes and gourds. You both did a great job. Very superb.
Hopefully see you in the garden. And your garden plot is looking at me. So you see the background.
Oh, yeah, I love that garden. It's beautiful.
So our garden is very chic garden, modern garden, cute garden.
Yeah,
In,
I lived
in
on,
between Gainsborough and Symphony Hall
oh,
on
wow,
Symphony Street.
I lived on Symphony Road. When
Yeah?
I came to Boston, yeah.
When?
Yeah, Pearl Street too.
When?
When I came here in 1967,
How long you stayed in Symphony Road?
about 2 years. Mhm.
Do that time, do they have the garden on that time or no?
No, they didn't have nothing but concrete jungle.
Our garden has a history. It was a burned building. 2 people died on that building when they burned for money.
Mm-hmm.
Then we established this, make it permanent in early 2000. We have to fight for that with the developer because developer wants to make it a parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have to go through a big fight with the city and the developer.
Our garden was a school. When before it became Nightingale was a school before it became a garden. And one of my children went to 3rd grade at that school, said Florence Nightingale Community School.
It's good to know. There's all the garden, they have a history, the background.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely do.
Especially
So I just want to, I hate to interrupt, and I'll leave this space open for y'all to keep talking and people can keep asking questions. I'm going to head on to the next workshop, which our next workshop series will start at 2:15, and you'll be able to find links in the program. I'll resend the program link in case anyone's lost track of it or doesn't have it. And check out some of the links that I just posted. There's some surveys and some information about our upcoming workshops. This was so lovely. Thank you guys so much.
I'm more than welcome. Thank you.
Thank
feel free
you.
to stick around if you want for a little bit longer. And
Thank you.
thank you everyone for coming and asking such great questions. I see someone just entered.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We gotta go visit the Nightingale Garden.
Yes, our next
Oh,
stop.
anytime. Come on over.
Where
We
is
love
it? Where are you
visitors.
located? Where is it?
It's on Park Street in Dorchester.
Okay, we'll find it.
It's right across the street from the Daily Table.
From the what?
The Daily Table.
The Daily Cables?
The Daily Table.
Oh, okay.
It's right off of Washington Street.
Okay, we'll find it. Svamil will guide us.
Okay, good. Come on down and visit anytime.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a great session, next session.
Hi, I just wanted to say to
Hi.
the presenters, I didn't get to your session because I really wanted to listen to Eastie Farms, but I'm looking forward to the recording and I'm excited about the content that you had.
Thank
Well,
you
if
very
you want
much.
to ask any questions, just go ahead.
Well, I feel bad asking just without having seen the material, but the description mentions sweet potato slips.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
what you're holding in your hands?
Yes.
Great. And in the description, you could use regular ones that you buy at the
I go to
store.
Whole Foods and I try to get a organic sweet potato because they propagate a whole lot faster. See this, after you put it in the dirt, this little sweet potato, it starts like this. I save them each year after I take up my crop, and I save all these little bitty ones so I can make my slips. And then a couple of weeks after you put it in the dirt, it starts growing like this. These are the purple ones. These are the purple sweet potatoes. And then when the slips get about this big, I break them off and I put them in water. And you see, you get the roots here. And then I stick them in dirt and pack like this. And I keep them in there until time for them to go outside.
And could you go over again your timing? When do you do these actions in the year?
I start them in January.
Okay. And
And it takes about maybe 3 to 4 weeks for them to start actually seeing some action where the little leaves and things start coming out on them. I start them that early because it takes quite a while for this to start.
great. And you said at the beginning, you saved some pieces.
Last year, I grew sweet potatoes. So all of those little tiny ones you see after you dig them out of the ground,
Oh, got it.
I saved these little ones, these little tiny sweet potatoes, you know, and I store them in like one of those mesh bags you get potatoes and onions and things like that from. And I live in a real old house, an 18th century house. It's built in 1860 and it's always cool in my back hallway. So I just put a nail up on the wall and I hang it up and leave it out there in the hallway.
And the hallway is fairly dark.
It's, yeah, it's sort of dark. It's only got one small window. But I hang it in the corner and they survive. Last year, I forgot to do it. So I threw them in a bag, in a basket that I had from my garden. They was all wrinkly, but they still worked.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks very much.
And if you are growing them in a bag, like one of those big grow bags, I would get at least a 10-gallon one, and you only put about 4 slips in there, 4 to 5 slips. You don't need a whole lot. Okay. And if you want to eat the vines, you can.
I wondered about that. Do they have to be young enough to be good to eat? Or
Well,
does it
you know,
matter?
you just go out and you just pinch off a couple of vines and you taste it. If it's tender, you can eat them. I wouldn't eat them all the way up. I wouldn't eat them after October because they get kind of tough and it's time to take the sweet potatoes out of the ground. But all during the summer, I would eat the vines.
Great.
Yeah, you just go out and you just take your clippers and you just chop off the leaves like this, and nice tender leaves, and you can saute them. You know, a lot of people make smoothies out of them.
Smoothies with the sweet potato leaves.
Yeah, you can put it in with your smoothies. Yeah, if you don't have cake.
Just like you can add other greens to smoothies.
Yes, yeah. A lot of things you can do with them, you know. And planting them in the ground, all I do is put a little bit of cow manure, and they don't need a whole lot of water. At the beginning, you would water them at least twice a week, unless in the ground gets very, very dry. But when they establish themselves and you start seeing all the vines going all over the place, you don't have to water them at maybe once a week. I just stick my hand in the ground. If it's damp, I don't water them at all.
It sounds great.
They're easy to grow. They make great pies.
Yeah.
They make great fries.
They're even great. They're even great just plain. So sweet.
Yeah.
With
And if you got a small space, in your garden, there are sweet potatoes that you can order online that are bush sweet potatoes. They don't run all over the place. You can order them. I think Park Seeds, a lot of different places online has got them. You can order them through Etsy.
Oh.
And, you know, and if you got a small place in your backyard, you got buckets or whatever, you can get the bushing kind. You know, you don't have to get the kind that run all over the place.
And again, in terms of spacing, you said if you've got 10 gallons, no more than 4. So
yes, no more than 4.
5-gallon bag or bucket, 2.
Yes, 2. Yeah. because sweet potatoes take up a lot of space. They take up a lot of space. I grew them in Nightingale, and where I was growing them, I was growing them on the edge, and the person in the plot next to me was growing beans, and they said they wanted the vine, so they didn't care if I let them grow over there. But everywhere they touch the ground, if they root, you get more sweet potatoes. So when you're digging them up, you're going to have to just follow the roots, And when you're digging them up, you stay at least 10 inches away from the root, because there could be sweet potatoes anywhere in that area.
Would you mind saying more about that?
Oh, when you're digging them out of the ground, you stay at least 10 inches away from the plant. You look for the root. This is going to be like the root on the potato right here. And I would stay at least 10 inches away when I'm digging. I go down with a fork and I just, break up the ground. And then I would take a trowel and just go until I find the sweet potatoes. Because I usually dig them mostly by hand, because you can tear them up with the fork. You have to be very careful when you're digging them up. You're going to have to use the fork, but just be very careful, and they can go deep too. So what I do is I have the kids out from the community schools when it's time to dig up sweet potatoes, and they love it.
That's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. And then they got a chance to take a few home with them. And
This will be their activity, after school
Yes.
activity.
Yeah, it's a great school activity for them. They're back in school in October, so they can come over and help out, And during the summer, I have the kids from other different programs around. When the city assigns jobs to the kids and they don't have any place to send the kids, they send them down to Nightingale.
Oh, I didn't know that. We can have volunteers from there?
Yeah, they pull grass, they help the seniors in their garden.
Mhm.
All kinds of little different things that they do around the garden. Mhm.
So we need that type of help in our garden, because sometimes Northeastern students, they help us a little bit once in a while.
The students from Northeastern is great for doing that.
Yeah. So sometimes once in a while, they come to our garden once a year or twice a year.
Mhm. We have Massasoit College. They come to my garden every year, the freshman class. But I would try to partner with a middle school or, a high school.
Yeah.
And you get the kids out for the summer, because mostly high school kids, they get jobs through the city.
Yeah.
And you can ask the city to send the kids to your garden.
Yeah, we need that type of help in our garden, because we are not getting that much help.
It's a great job for them, because they don't have to stay there more than 2 or 3 hours or something like that,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they also learn something by doing it.
Oh, yes, they learn how to grow food, because a lot of kids, I had kids that come in the garden, we grew peanuts, and they didn't know peanuts grew under the ground. Like I had kids that come, and you can tell what country the kids are from or what part of the United States come from, because they recognize the food that they grew up with. I had this kid that come in, he says, oh, my grandmother, she puts that in beans all the time. I says, do you know the name of it? He says, no, but I know the smell. It was time. It was time. So, we picked some and gave it to him in a little bag to take home to his grandmother. But, it's great to have the kids in the garden.
That's true. That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
To get hooked up with the high schools.
You just go to the school, talk to the principal, or you talk to the city. I would go directly to the school, because we have a lot of schools in our community, the Codman Academy and, the Epiphany School, and sometimes the schools even call you. But I would just go and talk to the principal of the school.
We have to do that, Nasreen.
Yes, and actually we have so many colleges around our neighborhood.
Yeah.
We're in a cultural district. have some advantage. We can take some.
Yeah,
advantage.
and I would check with the regular schools, you know, the kids in the 9th and 10th grade, the teenagers that work during the summer.
Yes.
That's a great resource because they're working for the city. The city is paying them.
Mhm.
And they could come to your garden 3 or 4 hours a day, maybe 3 times a week or every day or whatever their assignment is. And, you know, they could help out the seniors. They could pull grass. They could help clear the pathways or whatever you have grass in, you know, the sides. Mhm. And we have different organizations around here in Dorchester. We have the T&T group. They have a big teenage group.
Yes.
And they send kids down to the garden to work. I get them every summer. They even,
That's a good idea.
that group even helped the seniors in this neighborhood do their yards and stuff.
Wow.
So the schools are a great resource. Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you again.
Thank
I'll do
you.
another session.
Okay,
So
enjoy.
we can wrap up now
Huh?
for this session.
Yeah, this session is over.
Yeah, we can go to another session, or you can
Yeah,
go
we can
and
go
take a
to
nap.
another. Yeah,
There are other sessions are coming up.
yeah, we got other ones coming up. Yeah,
Yeah, and we have to see the next tomorrow and day after tomorrow. There will be more session to join.
yeah. Yeah,
Thank you, Eleanor.
you are very
Eleanor,
welcome.
thanks a
you.
lot. And
I'm
get
coming
my,
over to Symphony Road because I want to see those gourds when they're growing.
oh, you can visit our garden anytime.
Okay,
Bring your small sweet potato.
okay.
Seedlings.
Bring my sweet potatoes with me.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
And you will get my address from Annabelle.
Yeah, Annabelle will give me your address and I'll send you the callaloo seeds.
Yes, thank you.
You are very
Bye-bye.
welcome. I waste water all over my clean tablecloth. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the next session. Okay. Shu, how you feeling? You okay? Okay, I'm going to try to get to the next meeting. What is the next one? I gotta take some computer classes. Now, when I want to go to the next one, I leave this one, right, Shu? I just hit in the meeting.